Let's go. Okay, we're live. Hey, welcome back to the show, the wrestling show. We're keeping it real. Goes right. Welcome back to Real Take Wrestle Talk live here on the YouTube channel. Trevor, you're back again, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. Much better this week. Much
better. We love to hear that.
Feeling?
Man, I'm feeling better. Now that this illness doesn't afflict me.
You talking about your beard?
Oh, yeah, that too. But we got a wonderful show planned for you today. We're going to be talking about the massive WWE releases that happened last week. Actually, the day after we had our show, so we weren't able to talk about it. We'll talk about that. Also going to be talking about the worst segment in WWE Raw history, ? Potentially. Yeah, it kind of was bad. We'll talk about that. Vince selling WWE, WWE Draft, Roman Reigns, AEW news, Andrade signing with AEW, AEW pay-per-view numbers, the relationship with the NWA, and we're also gonna take a very close look at the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul fight that swindled America out of hundreds of millions of dollars. Best thing about that show was Mauro Ranallo. We'll talk about him as well on the show. But let's start off, Trevor. Let's start off by talking about Raw. Yeah. Let's just get this out of the way because I want to end the show on a happy note, and I segmented this so we just get this out of the way immediately because...
Agreed.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I, at this point, have quit watching Raw, right? Right. And I say this every week now. I said this like literally the past like 6 weeks in a row now. I quit watching Raw, and every time I quit watching, something happens that just sucks me back in. So I wasn't planning on watching Raw this week, and I'm hearing on Twitter, I'm hearing on Facebook, everywhere, it's like the worst segment in Raw history. Not just like, modern day WWE history. In Raw history happened to close the show. So I was like, okay. Everyone's saying this is the worst segment ever. It can't be that bad, right? It can't be that bad.
Right.
Well, it was that bad. This is historic. This was a historically bad segment. It was also a historically bad show. The show opened up. I was excited, by the way. I was like, I went on my DVR, found Raw. I was like, okay. Everyone was in the ring. They had all the tag teams in the ring. I'm like, okay, it's a little change up. There's not going to be a 25-minute promo to begin the show.
Right.
Yeah, it's like we're going to have a match just to start off Raw. That's cool. I like that. So everyone's in the ring. They're about to ring the bell. And then AJ Styles and Omos come out and cut a promo for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they go to break. We come back from break. The match is going to start. And then The Miz and Morrison come out and cut a promo. For like 10 minutes, they cut a promo. So we have back-to-back 20-minute long promos.
Mm-hmm.
To open Raw when there's already like 8 wrestlers in the ring.
Yep. That's about the short and long of it.
Yep. So that wasn't even the segment that everyone was talking about. The segment that everyone was talking about was the final segment of Raw. And this was the Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler segment, which many are now calling the worst final segment in Raw history. And they would not be wrong. Wow, this was bad, Trevor. So we'll go through it in just a second, but just give me your thoughts on what we saw.
Dude, I can't even tell you what we saw. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck we saw. So here's the thing. Something that's been built up like this shouldn't be quite as bad as it actually is or was. But the whole Alexa Bliss Lily gimmick is like... Why at this point? It's just really bad. I don't want to. It's just bad. It's just bad.
So the segment opens up with the Playhouse. Alexa's Playhouse is in the ring. Shayna Baszler joins Alexa Bliss on a swing, and then Alexa Bliss asks Shayna to apologize to her doll Lily, which Shayna has insulted over the past few weeks by calling it stupid. Stupid. Keep that in mind. So Shayna grabs this doll and she was like, I'm sorry, you're just a stupid little doll. And then obviously we see all these shenanigans happen. Shayna takes the doll, throws it on the ground, and stomps on it. And then we get like 5 different angles of her stomping on this doll. that she's repeatedly called stupid. And then we just see shenanigans happen. We see like fire coming out from the stage. We see explosions. And this is like, there's like good, like, bullocks in wrestling. There's good, like, weird stuff. This was not good. This was like, they wanted me to take this completely seriously type of stuff. And it wasn't funny, even like unironically. This was just bad. So Shayna runs backstage away from all this fire, all these shenanigans, all this mystical power that Alexa Bliss is showing on her. And we suddenly see boxes start to fall from the ceiling. And she locks herself in this closet. By the way, there's nobody backstage at all. No one in the gorilla position. No other wrestlers. There's nobody else backstage at all. No equipment. No one. So she goes backstage, locks herself in this room, and Shayna Baszler, like, looks into this mirror, and she sees the doll Lily in her reflection in the mirror. And she looks back, the doll's not there. She looks in the mirror, the doll's there. She breaks the mirror. We see the lights flickering, and Shayna just screaming in agony as the lights turn off and Raw goes off the air. This was a moment in time, Trevor. In 25 years of Raw's history, I don't think there's been a worse closing segment. Look, I'm laughing now, like as I narrated that, I'm laughing now because I'm like, oh, okay, this is like Dungeon of Doom levels of hilarity, like looking at it because you don't take it seriously. But it's happening now, and they want me to take it seriously, and that's not a good thing. But after this happened, Trevor, I sat down. And I legitimately thought. I sat down and I did some thinking. Had my phone away. 10 minutes, I stood there and I just thought about this segment. And I've been watching wrestling since 2004. Like, I feel like it's a pretty good sample size. 15 years, 16 years of watching Raw every week. And I thought to myself, there has not been a worse final segment. Like, for all like all the contract signings, all the Stephanie McMahon promos, nothing was ever this terrible. And you know what the worst part about it for me is? The fact that they're wasting two of their biggest stars on their roster in Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, in my opinion, she's my favorite, like, one of my favorite talents ever. Like she's like she's my favorite female talent on that entire roster, like, as a full, like, overall body of work. Shayna Baszler is just a beast who loves wrestling, who can go out there and kick ass. Like, you don't need her involved in these storylines, but alas, they have her involved. Trevor, why even bother? Why even bother?
So I did the same thing. I've actually been watching wrestling a good bit longer than you have, and I just went through all the, like, beefcake, like Brutus Barber beefcake barbershop shows, even like Piper's Pits and the Jake the Snake Roberts sex shows he had. Like, I tried to go through all those shows that had final segments and see how bad they actually were. The only one that came close to me, and it wasn't even a show, was the whole Vince McMahon dying in a car accident. That was subjectively bad, in bad taste.
Well, even that was like looking back, but this was this is happening now, and it's just terrible.
Exactly. Like, it was. I mean, it was in bad taste, but this is just like, what the like? Why would they even put this together? Like, again, like I said before, like, they had a good little a good positive by aligning Alexa Bliss with the Fiend and making her dark. Good job. Okay, at first it was good, right? Then now they've beaten the horse way too much. It's nothing left. It's not even bones at this point left of this horse that they're beating. It's just fragments. And they're still beating this horse. Like, a program between these two should be amazing. It should be great. Two great talents should be good. Now I kind of just want to, like, I'd rather shove like blades in my eyes at this point, because it's just that bad. It's really that bad. It doesn't make any sense. Like, this is probably the worst thing they could possibly do between two good talents. like this. It's terrible.
I agree. Looking back at it, I never would have put Alexa Bliss with the Fiend, knowing what they were gonna do.
Right.
But can't do that. I mean, and this is just look. I know wrestling's subjective, right? You know, everyone likes what they like. You know, you're allowed to
people that love this.
I would love to meet someone. If you love this, let us know in the chat. If you love this, I will let you come on this podcast next week and defend this shite. But this is like, and then it's just indicative, I think, of the problems that Raw has had over the past year. I mean, like I don't think anyone will argue that Raw has been the weakest of any WWE show, including Main Event and Superstars. That I think they still do Superstars, but it's been the weakest of all of WWE shows. Like it just doesn't work. You open with 20-minute long promo segments and with people droning on and on that no one wants to hear. You have unlikable baby faces like Ricochet and Nikki Cross. And again, this is not about unlikable as them wrestlers. This is like their characters. Like Nikki Cross, she's great in the ring, but her character as his white meat baby face is just terrible. Ricochet, same thing. Like, why do I want to see these people win when they're just acting like dorks and doofuses every week? And, you know, and like, don't get me started on the Jackson Riker thing. Like, you have Jackson Riker playing a face, and then they're doing this PTSD storyline with him, like thinking, and WWE of all companies thinking they can do a mental health storyline and do it justice after the shite that we've seen come out of them over the past like 30 years. Like, no. And like, no one's gonna root for Jackson Riker. Like, no. No, should they? Like, Elias in that feud is the babyface. So it's like always topsy-turvy with them, you know. And we're seeing the same matches how many times, Trevor, do I have to watch Kofi Kingston versus Drew McIntyre for a #1 contender shot at the WWE Championship? I've seen it like 6 weeks in a row now. It's like I mean, it's getting to the point where it's literally like, why bother? Why even bother?
I don't.
You pay, these are millions of dollars they're pumping into these Hollywood writers to write this show, Trevor, to write 3 hours of television a week, and they can't find an interesting thought between them. And the fucked up thing is, they have a show on Friday nights that they do every week that's actually entertaining. What the fuck? Like... I don't know. I don't even know. Like this, it's.
This is more of even like wasting our time on anymore.
It's not. And look,
it's so bad.
I'll just end with this. I know. Here's the thing. Nick Khan said in an interview a few months ago. He was on the Cowherd podcast, I think, and he said that WWE is not a wrestling company. We don't even use that word wrestling. We provide entertainment. We create content. You're damn right. You create content. You're not a wrestling company, and your content.
I'm not sure how entertaining it is, but they create content.
Yeah, World Wrestling, something. I don't know. It sucks. Exaggeration. World Wrestling Exaggeration. Coming to you live here on Monday night. Oh my God! Speaking of Monday NyQuil, knock me out. And let's move on. Let's move on. Yeah. Speaking of WWE being shitty, let's talk. Speaking of WWE being shitty, we can't get away from this topic, can we? Let's talk about this. WWE cleaned house again for the third time in the past 30 days. This week, WWE World Wrestling Exaggeration let go of multiple superstars, including Aleister Black, Lana, Ruby Riott, Santana Garrett, Murphy, and, of all people, Braun Strowman. Now, we'll talk about these people individually in a second. But, Trevor, three big time, like three, run of releases over the past month. And this is of all the people, like this was a list that caught a lot of people's eye. I know a lot of people were like, oh my God, Samoa Joe got released like in the first one, but this one was
wow.
This one was stacked. This was
really stacked.
If this was the main event, this would sell. This would sell out.
Yeah.
But no, they let these people go from the company. So, Trevor, take me through it. What do we think about these releases and just the names?
Okay, so yeah, we'll get through individual later, but like honestly, it doesn't make any sense. All this talent wasted. They wasted this talent. They completely wasted this talent. Like they used it in certain like capacities, I guess, like small increments, but over their tenure there, they never really used them. Like it's just, and then you just waste them by releasing them. Like, come on, like they can make your product much better. Like if you use them in the right ways, all of these stars can make your product better. But instead of making your product better, you want to release these guys for quote unquote what's the reason now? Like
budget cuts.
Budget cuts?
Budget cuts.
Is it still budget cuts? Okay.
In their most profitable year ever. Budget cuts.
Most profitable year ever, and you have budget cuts. So what you're saying is you need a new yacht or new space to do absolutely shit with. Like, come on. Like this makes no fucking sense. I mean, I understand you believe Kofi in Drew McIntyre Part 78 sells tickets, but trust me, I'm here to tell you, it does not.
It's just the Braun Strowman release to me is just the one that's like unconscionable. Like you can't do that. You can't justify that. Anyway, we'll talk about Brawny the Strowman. But let's just start off, Trevor, by talking about Aleister Black. So Aleister Black was released. I want you to just give me a quick run through. How did WWE manage to fail with Aleister Black of all things? Like he great on the mic, great in ring. Like how do you mess up Aleister Black?
Like I loved, and I'm sure this is a mutual thing that we can agree on. His in-ring character from NXT was money. I loved it. It was great. Like his interest, everything was money. He has skills. He has mic skills. He has a great in-ring presence. He was great. Hell, I mean, they were repackaging him and bringing him on SmackDown and going to use him in another way. And then besides that, like he's just Aleister Black. Like he does, his presence brings bodies, brings faces. Oh, I'm not there anymore. I died.
Nope, you're good.
There I am. But like, instead of like working more with this repackaging, you cut it. You release him. That makes no earthly sense. He was taken back about it. If even his statement, I'm sure you read it, Omer.
Yeah, it was just he was like he didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody saw like these coming. Like
no,
I did not see Braun Strowman was in a main event their last pay-per-view. I did not see that coming whatsoever.
No.
So yeah. So again, it's just unconscionable. Like Aleister Black specifically, I think that they just didn't know what to do with him. There were reports that Vince McMahon didn't get the gimmick. There were reports that Vince McMahon didn't understand what made Aleister Black so good and what made him so appealing. There's also speculation, or actually not speculation. Black was actually on the Renee Young's podcast on Oral Sessions, and they were talking about it, and he said that he would go there. He would pitch all these ideas. He had Paul Heyman behind him, and it's gotten a lot of people think that potentially it might have been in part at least Paul Heyman himself that was kind of like the biggest detraction from Aleister Black, because we know Vince McMahon and Paul Heyman have a weird relationship where Paul can, he tends to fight a lot for what he believes in. But it's just how do you not? He was so great in NXT. It was amazing. He was a world champion. He was a world champion in the making when Triple H. It's this weird thing. You take all these NXT talents. They are over. They are over like Rover. They are great in the ring, on the mics, and then once once you get them away from Full Sail, they go to the main roster. Tank every single one of them. It doesn't have a lot to do, I think, with Triple H and NXT. I think it has a lot to do with whoever's running the ship on the main roster, and we know who that is. So. Again, Tommy End now, man, good luck to you. Good luck to you. You got or you got a future in this business, kid. Trust me.
Definitely does.
Yeah, you know who else has a future in this business? The former ravishing Russian Lana. She was the manager of Rusev for a while. She wrestled on Raw the night before her release. Can't make this up. There she is. Lana was also let go. Trevor, how did WWE fail Lana? Because she had a good thing going for a long time. She was getting better.
She got much better. And that's what really like didn't make any sense to me. Like they used her, they started to get her better. They started pairing her with other stars to make her better. And she was getting over. She was getting over. Like Lana showed that she had skills that wasn't even aware that she had. And I liked what she was doing. Again, don't know how to use her, didn't know how to use her, and refused to try, and just let her go. Like again, and she honestly was a refreshing add-on to the female roster. Like I liked Lana on the mic. I thought it was it's kind of hilarious to watch her, especially early on, watch her on the mic. But she was getting so good. Like I don't understand. Like her chemistry in the ring with Natty was it Natty at first? It was so
yeah,
good.
it was. Yeah, I think they were the team with Natty at first, and then they moved on. But it's weird. They invest all of this time, all of this money into Lana, right? And she gets better. She shows the incremental change in her, not even in her in-ring style. She got better. And she was always great she was always great as Rusev's manager on promos. I thought she was really good in that position. They took her away from that, and now he's cut her unceremoniously. Makes no sense. Let's get to the next name on this list, which to me is just like the fact that this woman was not a world champion in WWE, and they never featured her in any sort of a premier spot. It's criminal, and that's Ruby Riott. Yeah. Ruby Riott was also released. Trevor, how do you fuck this up?
Like, again, someone they didn't use. They just didn't use. They didn't use any of the Riott Squad. Like, they gave, was it Liv? Or was it
Sarah Logan?
Sarah Logan a title shot, which makes sense. Makes sense. But the one they should have been pushing more, it was Ruby Riott. Because you don't.
It's her name. Her name is the name. It's the Riott Squad.
Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, Ruby Riott to me was so over, and I'm not the only one. There were so many people, in you as well, that have been speaking on this for a week now. Her IG has been blowing up. Twitter's been blowing up. But just people just commenting on it, like, how did they do this? How did they drop the ball with you? Like, and then you think about like all the talent that they misuse on the women's roster, and she just goes on another long list of names. Like, she should have been a title holder. She should have been. The Riott Squad should have had the tag team titles. How do you have a stable of women in the female tag team division that don't have tag team titles? That makes no sense.
Who could work? All three of them could work.
Exactly.
Like, they were arguably the best tag team workers in the entire company.
And I don't blame Sarah Logan for retiring. I don't. I mean, she wants to raise her kid, which is awesome. It's beautiful. But she also said her head wasn't there. And I understand why your head's not there, because they're dicking you. They're screwing you out of work. Like, and it's dumb.
Yeah, it's absolutely dumb. They like every point when you're getting some momentum, it just seems like, you have the rug pulled out from under you. And we can say that about anyone on this list, and we can especially say that about this next person, Braun Strowman, who, of all of these releases, I think this was by far the biggest surprise, given his standing with the company, given the fact that he signed a multi-year deal to stay with the company just a few years ago, given the fact that he was in the main event for the WWE Championship at the last pay-per-view. How do you mess up Braun Strowman, who is literally if Vince McMahon in his mind built a wrestler, it would look like this.
Right.
It would look like this. This is what Vince wants professional wrestling to be, and he was able to do it. And he had the guy. And the guy was over. He was good on promos. He was good in the ring. He gave people these hands, grappling hooks, bringing down the stage on the Brock Lesnar. Ambulance is getting flipped. Cake being eaten. Like, how do you mess this up? He was so good.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, they dropped the ball with him with Brock Lesnar. Completely dropped the ball. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. They dropped the ball with him with Brock Lesnar. This man should have been a world champion back then. They dropped the ball with him when they gave him the title because they screwed up and gave it to Bill Goldberg, which made no freaking sense at all. Then they I understand his career high was being called stupid and wrestling Shane McMahon. I understand that was a great match for his career. But
he's a main eventer now, pal.
Like, what the seriously, dude? How do you fuck that up? He's fit. The man is physically gifted. He's humongous. He's humongous. He's a great athlete. He, like you said, he's great on the mic. Like, for months, even years, all you heard was, "Come get these hands." Like, every little kid that was a fan of wrestling was a fan of Strowman because he said something catchy. Come get these hands. And now you release him instead of doing anything productive with his career. You release him. Stupid. Absolutely stupid.
It's absolutely stupid. And we all should have seen. Look, we all should have seen it coming when they had him during the time when he was the most over was 2017 going into 2018. That was Braun Strowman's biggest
Right.
That was when he was at his biggest. And what they do, they jobbed him out to Lesnar. Okay, you're making Lesnar look like this beast. Okay, sure, right? He can recover from that. It's like losing to Brock Lesnar is not the worst thing in the world. Like, he obviously should have won, or they should have done the match, but he got past that, and it's easy to get past that, right? But then WrestleMania 34 comes around, his first big match for some titles, and you put him in essentially a handicap match for the tag team. But no, you can't put him in a handicap match because it's got to be tag team titles, pal. They paired him with a 10-year-old. It made no sense. It would have been better if they had just said, "I don't need a partner," and Strowman just won the tag team titles by himself. You know what? That would have been the most interesting thing that WWE could have done with their tag team division at that point, or any point in the past 10 years. Have Braun Strowman win it, keep those titles for a year, and have him be the tag team champion.
Exactly.
I am the tag team champion. Like, it would have been great. But no, then he lost the next night. Oh. Yeah, this company needs help. This company needs help. I don't understand.
It's in dire straits right now. And that, all jokes aside, we make jokes about it because actually it's so sad, it's funny. But it's true. It's definitely true. They're in dire straits at the moment.
I mean, no, they're not in dire straits. Like, WWE is not going out of business anytime.
Oh, no. That's not what I mean. I mean,
right, no, I understand. Yeah. As far as being a wrestling company, though, WWE is not a wrestling company. I think that's over the past year. We know Vince always says it. Vince always says, "Oh, we make movies, pal. We're not a wrestling company." He doesn't use the word wrestling. And we've kind of fought back on that as fans for a long time. But I think the time has come, and we don't need to fight that anymore because they made it abundantly clear that WWE in no way, shape, or form is a wrestling company. So. It's sad, but that day has come. And, man, this was just disappointing. Just disappointing on all levels. You know what's not disappointing, though? You guys, for all of what you do, be sure to like, share, subscribe to the channel. We got much more wrestling news coming your way. But to stay updated on everything we do, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Be sure to check out us on Twitter at Real Take Sports. Check us out on our little Twitter handles, as Trevor can point to right now on his thing right there, Trevortainment. There you go, pal. Be sure to check us out there to stay updated on what we're doing, what we're up to, all our projects, and yeah, all that good stuff. All right. So let's talk about this next. This was a big thing coming off of the releases. This was the big reasoning as to why many thought that we've seen now 3 rounds of releases in a month. Vince McMahon's company, the WWE, have conducted several rounds of talent cuts over the past few weeks and months following WrestleMania 37. With the likes of Braun Strowman and Aleister Black let go last week, while the promotion has made mass redundancies by redundancies we mean literally just kiboshing and cutting entire departments in Titan Towers in Connecticut. So we've seen a lot of budget cuts. We've seen a lot of changing of the guard, as they say, and a lot of that's due to Nick Khan, who's come in and basically said that we're going to cut out all of the fat, and we're only going to have what we need to be successful, and, that includes a lot of budget cuts. Okay, and the cost-cutting measures have been fueled by Nick Khan, like I said, and they've also fueled in themselves rumors that WWE might be selling, and, it's worth to note that several investors in WWE told WrestleNomics this week that they do not believe the company is lined up for sale, despite the recent speculation and the moves. But as a basic tenet of just the way these things work. So when you're gearing up to sell an entity, you want to make sure that entity, in this case it would be WWE, you want to make sure that entity has, the most profits it can have in that moment. You want to optimize the profits, make it look like something that people want to buy, that they're getting a good deal on, that's an instant moneymaker. And it's no doubt, WWE can put out shit products for the next 10 years and still be a profitable company. Yeah. That's the point that they've gone to. They are a global juggernaut, pal. That's what they are. So they can just keep on churning stuff out, and they're like Disney. Disney doesn't have to do anything to make money. They're Disney. That's what WWE is now. So now they're trying to optimize profits with all these budget cuts and whatnot. And it's gotten a lot of people questioning, is WWE selling? And for me, I'll let you in on this in a second, but for me, you're making all these moves, and to me, it's like, if you're not selling, I genuinely don't understand what you're doing, because there has to be some sort of a big move involved here, because the stocks aren't getting any better right now. The stocks aren't getting any better. None of that's happening unless you're selling to potentially Peacock, like Universal, NBC, or maybe Disney, maybe Fox. I don't understand what's going on, other than they're selling. This is the only logical move here with everything that's gone on over the past few months, because it's not just wrestlers they've let go. They've cut entire departments in corporate. Yeah. So just why don't you tell me what you think, Trevor, about all of these rumors about WWE selling, and if they do sell, who might they sell to?
I've actually heard the rumors about WWE selling for a while now. This to me is nothing new. Hearing is nothing new. But honestly, like you said, it makes sense if they are, because of all the budgets, quote unquote budget cuts that they're doing. All the wrestlers, all the departments, everything that they're cutting down. It would make sense. I personally don't believe they are. Honestly, it's just I honestly believe Vince McMahon is too vain for that. To be honest with you. But if they were to sell, it would have to be someone like Disney, or even like Fox, or it have to be someone that is in tune to come in and just run this company right away, like maybe a Khan, maybe a Khan family, you know what I mean, or something.
Oh my, that would be the day. Vince would, I think Vince would genuinely roll over in his grave before that ever happened. But
oh hell no. If the Khans ever bought WWE, hell, first off, he would never let it happen. But
could you imagine? then calling Tony Khan the money mark would actually be pretty accurate.
Yeah,
but I don't know how much money he'd have left after that. But continue.
But I honestly believe it would be a family, or someone like that, someone with a lot of money to burn and interested in the product. I don't believe at this point they are selling. But if they are, that's who I would my money would be to buy.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's I think they are gearing up to sell. I genuinely believe that because from and this isn't like, oh my god, hyperbole, you know. I was about to do a Vince impersonation there. But this isn't hyperbole. This is not like me trying to be like, you know, ooh, clickbaity. I genuinely think they are, because the moves they're making are moves you would make if you're trying to make the company look profitable to someone who's potentially buying it. You're trying to cut out the fat. And, you know, once you do that,
but here's the thing, though, and not to cut you off, but here's the thing: if you're really trying to sell this company, why are you cutting great talent like the way like you're doing? Like
you're cut because it doesn't matter who the talent is.
Well,
it doesn't matter who the talent is. The reason they cut some Braun Strowman was because they already have Amos and Admiral Aziz on the show as these huge big men. The thing is that the entire model of, like, we talked about this, WWE is no longer a wrestling company. They haven't been for a long time. They are an entertainment company. So what do you do when you let go someone who's expensive, you don't want to pay all this money to, in Braun Strowman? You recast him as with another person, another big person.
Cheaper person, yeah.
And that's what WWE has been doing, and that's what they're going to do from moving forward. And that's why you've seen these moves. That's why you've seen all this stuff. And I think that, you know, after, like again, it's just business 101. They're trying to make the company look profitable. Nick Khan has made it known that, like WWE is pretty, like, you know, open for business. Like, he's never said that, but, like, all these hints that he's dropping, he's coming from that mentality. And we saw this similar thing happen in, I think it was 2016 it happened, when UFC sold for $4 billion.
Yeah.
We saw very similar stuff going on there then. And here's the thing, WWE can sell, and Vince can still be in charge of creative. Like the entire structure will not change, I think. Yeah. Like, I don't think that's going to change. But what I do think will happen is Vince is just going to get a whole hell of a lot more money for doing what he's going to do. Because I think, like even Vince McMahon, for how vain he is, if you sprinkle $4 billion on the WWE, which, like in front of him, which I think WWE, they could very well sell for $3 or $4 billion. Because like I said, like, they're making themselves look more profitable, so that brings the entire price of the company up. So yeah, that's why I think they're going to be selling. So we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully it stays a family business. But who cares if it does or doesn't? Because they're going to be pulling out the same shitty product no matter what.
Exactly. At this point, it doesn't matter who buys it.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. You know what does matter, Trevor? You know what does matter?
What does matter?
You hopefully putting your phone somewhere else that's not on your computer, so we can't hear the vibrations.
It's just sitting there vibrating. Sorry, guys.
No, yeah, I was about to cut it mid segment. I was like, nah, let me not embarrass him.
Yeah, it's just sitting there vibrating. I put it on so I could see the time.
No, I understand. You're good. It's 9:08. You're good.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Let's move on. Another thing that's happening in the WWE, the WWE Draft. We have big news concerning the WWE Draft. According to multiple reports from the Matman Pro Wrestling Podcast and Andrew Zarian, this year's WWE Draft is currently scheduled to take place on the 30th of August edition of Monday Night Raw and the September 3rd episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Haha, we love to fight on Friday nights, Michael. The draft will consist of members of both the Raw and SmackDown roster, so only main roster talents will be involved in this, not NXT talents. Same scenario we've seen play out over the past few years. Last year, we saw the likes of Seth Rollins, Bianca Belair, Kevin Owens all head to SmackDown, while The Fiend, Braun Strowman, Sheamus all moved to Raw. The biggest moves we saw last year was the separation of the New Day as Big E moved to SmackDown, while Kofi and Xavier switched to Raw. Trevor, given the fact that this is now the fourth superstar shakeup or draft, whatever you want to call it, in just the past 2 years, has the draft lost its novelty as a gimmick?
I think so. I think that is a very emphatic yes. Yeah, it's gotten bad now, man. Like I remember when I was younger, like the draft was like cool. Like, oh, this is like football. This is like basketball. Like you get to see new talent, whatever. But like it was just it after a while, like it just wears off. Like what the fuck? Like why are you doing this now? And then like you said, this is like the fourth one, like
in 2 years.
In 2 years. So obviously you're trying to do something. You're trying to you realize your product is struggling. You're trying to, butter it up, make it better a little bit. Like it's not. It's not. It's nothing is helping at this point, and this is just making fans upset because no one cares anymore at this point.
Not at all, man. Like the draft was. Like the fact that they had basically 2 draft extensions in the past, like in a matter of 3 years. They had one in 2016 where they reset the rosters, and then they had another one in 2019 where they reset the rosters, and then they had 3 shakeups, a wild card rule, and a honey mustard barbecue, whatever. Like they are just like it gets to a point. Like what made the draft so great. Like in 2004 when they first did it, right? When they first did the draft lottery, I should say. What made that so great was the unpredictability of it and the fact that you cared. You cared to see where these people went because this only happens once a year. This is like it's not like something that's going to be like, oh my God, we're just going to see these people switch anyway. This was something that was only meant to happen once a year, and it was meant to literally shake up and make fresh matchups. But over the past literally 2 years, we've seen 4 of these in some incarnations, right? Sometimes it's a shakeup, sometimes it's a wild card rule, sometimes it's a draft extension. But when you do it that often, it becomes less special. And when you do it that often, it does lose its novelty. And now it's like the draft is happening. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who genuinely gives a fuck? Unless they switch the Universal Champion and WWE Champion, which please God no, don't do that. Do not put Roman Reigns on Raw. I will cry. Unless they do something big like that, no one's gonna care. No one's gonna bat an eye because we're probably gonna they get around it anyway. We've seen SmackDown superstars go on Raw. Like they don't keep it separate anyway. Like at least when they were doing the separate pay-per-views. It was like completely separate, and you felt like, okay, Raw and SmackDown don't intermingle at all. Right. That was cool. But then they were just like, okay, we have dual branded pay-per-views and honey mustard barbecue pre-shows. Like it's like we're just gonna go and have everybody wrestle, and then we're gonna have Survivor Series, SmackDown versus Raw, one time only, and then WrestleMania interpromotional matches, one time only, and then the WWE Draft, one time only. Well, damn, if you do it 5 times a year, it's not one time only.
I'm only it's like 70,000 times only.
Yeah, it's like 70,000 times only. It's like once in a lifetime, like 74. Like, come on. Like it's also just lying to your fans at this point. And anyone who's kept up with the product, I'm sure there are people out there who are excited about this. And look, I'm glad there are, because if every wrestling fan was as cynical about WWE as I am, then that would not be good for their product. That would not be good for wrestling. But it's gotten to a point where everything is just so run into the ground, so like rammed down your throat, and just happens so frequently, you don't care, and it doesn't mean anything. And that's been a problem for WWE for a long time, and unfortunately, I think for the draft, it's going to continue.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to help much at all. It's at this point, they're just doing things. And like hoping for a better result, and they're not going to get it.
Yeah, they're not. How mad would you be? We were the last question about the draft. How mad would you be if Roman Reigns got switched to Raw? How mad would you be?
Absolutely pissed, because to me that ruins him. That completely ruins him. Like, I mean, yeah, his charisma is not something that just goes away. You know what I mean? But his whole gimmick to me changes when he goes to Raw because different writers. It shouldn't be, but it seems like it's different writers.
I don't understand. Like if they switched Roman Reigns to Raw as a way to fix Raw, you're not fixing Raw. You're just making SmackDown. Like SmackDown is then missing its best thing. Like the best thing. Exactly. There's a lot of good things about SmackDown. Like you got Bianca Belair is great, and you have the tribal chief thing that's dominating SmackDown. and you're taking the one thing that we love about Roman Reigns and stripping it away, please don't do that.
And please keep Bianca Belair in SmackDown. Please.
Oh my God, please.
Please keep her in SmackDown.
No, I don't need Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair wrestling for the Oh my God. Have you seen what's going on with Charlotte Flair and what's her name?
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley as of late? It is not great, man.
No, it's not.
They're literally just competing about who's the most obnoxious person. Like it's
and I think
oh, it's not great, man. Like I'm just come on. Like these are two world-class competitors, two world-class athletes, and they're making a joke of them. Yeah. And that's the problem with Raw. They're just making a joke of everything.
I mean, that's what they did with Asuka, so.
Oh, poor Asuka. Let's move on, Trevor, and talk about, actually, we mentioned this, the best part about WWE right now, and that is the Tribal Chief. Acknowledge him right now, Trevor. Acknowledge him. It's a great day to wake up and acknowledge the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. I love those memes, by the way. Those are A1 memes by everyone out there. But, all right. Someone had some interesting things to say about Roman Reigns this week, and that someone was the former best in the world, CM Punk. He came out this week, and he said about Roman Reigns, and I quote, his character, his in-ring stuff, it's all great, but I feel like classic WWE, they're 5 to 10 years late. This is something that they this is something that they should have done organically or originally because they tried so hard to get this guy over as a babyface, and they gave him an X amount of WrestleMania main events. Like, this guy is the guy. This is the guy, and he really never had moments until now. That was CM Punk on Roman Reigns. So there's two big takeaways. One, thank you, CM Punk, for acknowledging the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. Secondly, I think he said something that everyone's been saying for a long time, which is that they are 5 years late, basically, with Roman Reigns. Because one thing that people get wrong, that Roman Reigns fans get wrong about people booing Roman Reigns or not liking Roman Reigns was, it wasn't the fact that people hated Roman Reigns. They just hated the gimmick because he didn't have one. He was just, I'm here and I'm gonna, like it was bland. He was cutting these bland promos. He wasn't interesting. We weren't invested. Like, everyone knew, like, Roman Reigns was a badass. People loved him in the Shield. He was just going out there and having great matches, kicking people's ass. And that's great. And that is amazing. But people weren't invested in him until now because he's showing something that he hasn't shown before. This mean streak, this thing that makes people interested. The Tribal Chief is getting him over and has gotten him over. People cheer Roman Reigns. I promise you, Roman Reigns is going to be arguably the most over guy in WWE when fans return. But
absolutely.
Yeah. But absolutely. What do you make, Trevor, what do you make of CM Punk's comments and everything he said? Because I think he's spot on.
I think he's absolutely right. I feel like you said, when he was in the Shield, I feel like he was over, he was good. But I also felt like for a long time, like, and this is how I felt like the beginning of Cena. I felt like he was force-fed. They force-fed us Roman Reigns for a while, because they said, okay, he's over as a Shield. Let's make him a singles competitor and make him even more over. At that point, he was more annoying than anything else. And so you're pushing him on us. Like, you're changing our narrative of him originally. And now we have this so-called face, this so-called menacing face. And menacing faces don't really last very long. You know what I mean? Like, they're either like ride the fence, or they're just a heel. And he never really rode the fence. They kept pushing him as this face, and he was never really truly a face. Like, now what he is a heel who is completely over, and the fans love him. They cheer for him, whatever, no matter what. And I think that's what Roman Reigns should have been. And luckily they still had a shelf life of him. So they did it now, but like, they should have been done it. This could have been his career from the get-go.
They could have saved so much money about not having Brock Lesnar on the roster,
right?
Like, because they have one, they have him right there. You want we'll talk about it, right? And I think that the one thing that people have been ignoring for a long time is the fact that Roman Reigns, like, for all of the faults of his character, Roman Reigns in the ring is like, he was great. He never had bad matches, and but the thing is, that's never what it was about. It was about the fact that we knew he was being force fed down our throats, and it wasn't entertaining. It was not interesting or entertaining because we had no reason to be invested in this guy. And WWE got mad. Like, apparently there were reports back in the day remember when Reigns and Ambrose had their title match, Survivor Series 2015. That was Roman Reigns' first time winning the belt. That was his first time winning the belt. Everyone in that arena booed him because, you know why? Because everyone was invested in Dean Ambrose. Because Ambrose was on Raw cutting promos for a year. And he was this interesting character who had Hell in a Cell matches with Seth Rollins, just beat up Seth Rollins. He had something that we were interested in, we wanted to see. And we just never got that from Roman Reigns until they put him with Paul Heyman, until he turned heel, until he became the tribal chief. And now we must acknowledge him.
Yes.
Challenge him. Challenge him.
It's challenge day.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those. It's just one of those things. Like you said, Ambrose has been over since Ambrose was a single competitor. Like, I've heard people make the comparison of him and then this particular wrestler, and I can see it. Like, a lot of people compare him to the likes of Roddy Piper, and he just really just said whatever he wanted to say. He was a complete asshole, a complete nut job, and like that's Roddy in a box. That was Roddy, and Dean Ambrose had that.
Roddy in the box.
Yeah, Roddy in the box. That's what Ambrose has, still has, but Reigns never truly had that. Like, he had good mic skills, but they didn't know what to do with them. They didn't know how to use it. They didn't know how to package it until now. And what you have now is what he should have been all the time.
Acknowledge me is such a better line than suffer and succotash. That's all I will say.
Suffer and succotash.
Suffer and succotash, son. Like,
I don't know.
How is that supposed to get over? Like, come on, WWE. Anyway, let's stick with Roman Reigns because he is the tribal chief, and we do acknowledge him here at Real Take Sports Talk. We're going to have another little mini segment about Roman Reigns. So this was an interesting report that came out of WWE. Reportedly, they have determined to only use Roman Reigns in the first or last match or segment on the card for all the shows that he's on. So, meaning SmackDown, pay-per-views. Roman Reigns is either going to be on first or he's going to be on last. Since returning to WWE, the new tribal chief persona last summer, he's done a fantastic job. Like, we've already covered this. Like, Roman Reigns is amazing. The thing with him and Paul Heyman and the Usos just works so well. And I think that having Roman Reigns wrestle on the first or last spot on the card is exactly where he should be, because he is the best performer on the best show that they have in the biggest wrestling company in the world. So, yes, he does deserve to be either first on the card or last, because let's be honest, when you have a main event match, like 6 matches in the middle of the card, that's not the main event.
Yeah.
If you open up the show, that's interesting. If you main event the show, that's interesting. Like, when you put him in the middle, it means like it's a throwaway like championship match. But what do you think about this? Like, is Roman deserving of the spot, and is he the new big attraction in WWE? Is he potentially the new Brock Lesnar, like, in this spot?
Now, see, to me, the reason that Brock Lesnar was that attraction in that spot was because Brock Lesnar's appearance on pay-per-views and shows was so few and far in between, and you wanted to see him. You know, people got intrigued by him because he was never on a show. He never really defended a title like that, and we've talked about this before. But to have Roman in this particular spot, there is a difference. There's a big difference, because it's not that he doesn't want to defend the belt. It's not even that he doesn't want to perform. He just feels that he should do it either first or last. And being the big money maker, the big attraction, like you said, one of the best performers, if not the best performer on SmackDown, on one of the best shows in one of the biggest companies, he deserves that. He absolutely deserves that. People watched the second night of WrestleMania for a lot of the other matches, but him, Edge, and Daniel Bryan was the match everyone was looking forward to.
Yep.
Everyone. Like he was both nights. The SmackDown matches, the people from SmackDown had the main events, and everyone watched what? SmackDown. They wanted to watch that main event by both superstars, and they did, and that's what it was. They were there to see him, and so yes, does he deserve it? Absolutely. And I don't think this is a question. I don't think this is up for discussion. He definitely deserves it.
Acknowledge him. Acknowledge him. That's all I'm gonna say. It's literally all I can say. Like I never thought that as WWE has messed up with this guy so much that I never thought I would love Roman Reigns, because I always thought he was gonna be this bland character and never been able to. I thought he was gonna be the biggest waste of talent that WWE ever did, because Roman Reigns, absolutely. Joe Anoa'i, the individual, is one of the most talented people WWE's ever had. He should have been a star 10 years ago, but he wasn't. But. He is now. Acknowledge the tribal chief, and also acknowledge Real Take Sports by subscribing, guys. We got daily videos dropping every single day. We also got a bunch of other stuff. Real Take Wrestle Talk on Tuesdays. Real Take Sports Talk on Thursday nights now. We got a news date for that. We're going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers, Julio Jones, and that big trade. So be sure to subscribe. Hit that notification bell below to stay notified. Also, follow us on Twitter at Real Take Sports. Also on Facebook at Real Take Sports. And everywhere else, wherever you get your social medias and all that good stuff. Before we get into AEW today, because we covered a lot of WWE, let's talk about this bit of news that came out of WWE this week that has a lot of longtime wrestling fans very giddy and very happy. Shorter WWE shows, Trevor. So let me preface this. We are getting shorter WWE shows in the future. It was announced this past week that WWE SummerSlam will take place in Las Vegas at Allegiant Field, the home of the Las Vegas Raiders. Didn't call them the Oakland Raiders. Big dub on that. WWE wants to put on a WrestleMania type show, reportedly, because they weren't able to have a full crowd. They want to fill up the big football stadium. They want to have, a lot of interest. And the biggest interesting thing that came out of this, though, and that has people talking, is the fact that the show will start at 8 p.m. and is reported to only have a 3-hour runtime. And that's also because there's a Manny Pacquiao fight in Las Vegas the same night as his pay-per-view, so they want to give people time to go see that fight. So it's going to be a short SummerSlam, but 3-hour pay-per-views should be the norm going forward, according to all these reports, and they have been the norm recently. Like WrestleMania, each night was about 3 hours. Past few pay-per-views, like I started live streaming at Fastlane, and until now, they've all been 3 hours. Just breezes to watch. So what do we think of this, Trevor? 3 shorter pay-per-views, 3-hour run times. Is this good for WWE?
It's one of the best things to happen for WWE. Like we've talked about before, it's just too much. It's just too much. You have 16, 17 matches all crammed together, and you don't get a chance to actually enjoy these matches, because at the matches you really want to see at the end, you're tired by that point. So is 3 hours enough time? Yes, absolutely. 3 hours is more than enough time. And this is something that should have probably been done a while ago too. I applaud whoever thought of this.
Yeah, it's one of the best things that happen in wrestling. Isn't it weird that as wrestling fans, we've been clamoring for less wrestling from WWE for the past 10 years? Only WWE can do this. But it's great because go back and watch some of my streams of these pay-per-views. I have never been happier watching WWE pay-per-views than I was watching these. Yeah, some of the matches are boring, but it's fun because they're only 10 minutes long, and the overall, and I'm not looking forward to 18 other matches. But right. This is great. And you know what it does, Trevor? Also, it makes these pay-per-views more special. Because now you're able to do these 3-hour shows. You're able to condense everything down and only have what's important. Cut out the fat. You forget releasing superstars. Cut out the real fat. Cut out the unnecessary matches. Because I think even AEW has perfected this to the point where there's still not everyone needs to be on the card all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it can be a good thing for the product. Like I've said. So I think these things are good. Now, as far as scheduling your second biggest pay-per-view on the same night as one of the biggest boxing matches of the year, that probably was not a good idea.
Baby steps, Omar. Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps with this company, bro. It's the biggest billion-dollar company, wrestling company. Sorry, sport entertainment company in the world, and baby steps with them. And anyway, speaking of baby steps, guys, like I said, remember to like, share, subscribe. Let's move on to AEW, All Elite Andrade.
Yeah.
See what I did there? All right. All right. So, big news out of AEW. Last Friday night on AEW Dynamite, we saw the debut of Andrade El Idolo, formerly known as Andrade Cien Almas, or Andrade from WWE. He came out with Vicky Guerrero as his manager, cut a promo in English, which ironically was one of the big things that reportedly held him back in WWE management, or in the eyes of WWE management, that he couldn't cut a promo in English. But look, he went out there and he did it. So proved you wrong, didn't they? So this is a big get. You know, what do we think about this, Trevor? Andrade in AEW, they already have a stacked roster. It just got a lot more stacked. What do we think about this signing, and how do you think it'll play in with the match that Andrade is going to have with Kenny Omega at Triple Mania in August?
So we've talked about this, right? Briefly, anyway, about where Andrade could go and what it would do for his career. We both agreed that Impact was probably the better spot, only because AEW is so saturated with great talent, and we don't want him to get lost in the shuffle. But putting him in AEW also stirs the pot for his big match with Kenny Omega, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's very smart. I think what you do there, not only are you bringing more attention to AEW by getting such a big talent in both the Latin community and American community, you also have two wrestlers that are gonna face off at some point, so they're gonna have to interact with each other. So it just stirs the pot a little more and makes this match all more special. I just hope that with his appearance in AEW that he doesn't interfere in the Jungle Boy match. And that was one of the first things that I thought about. And I don't know if that was anything that crossed your mind at all, but that was one of the first things I thought about.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, I think it could happen, right? It potentially could happen because Andrade's character isn't necessarily a good guy, right? He's more of a tweener. He's more of a, even a little bit of heelish. He's like, look at his manager, Vicky Guerrero, who is, very clearly a heel. She also manages Nyla Rose, who's bit of a tweener, but I think that that's something that could happen. But as far as Andrade goes, I think it's actually good that AEW got him, because not only is he good for getting as the Latino demographic, right? Obviously that's a big reason, but it also is getting literally one of the biggest and best stars in wrestling today. Yeah. And you're getting him right as he's going into a program with your world champion, and he's gonna have this huge match at Triple Mania in Mexico to make AEW some money, make AAA some money. I think it's just great. I think pairing him with Vicky Guerrero was great because it gives Vicky Guerrero something to do now, especially with her and Nyla Rose also being involved in the women's world championship picture with Britt Baker. I love it. I love it. Obviously, there's other places he could have gone to. But look, AEW has shown that they're able to have this loaded roster, absolutely loaded roster, and find things to do with them. It's also good that they're adding that 1 hour long show Rampage. So right. So they're going to have more time to showcase talent, and it's not going to be oversaturation, which is great. So I have no problem with this move. I think it's good. What I do have a problem with, though, and one thing that a lot of people online have had a problem with as far as this Andrade signing goes, was some of the details that kind of went along with the negotiations. So, Trevor, I don't know if you heard about this, but let's talk about it. So, it was reported that Andrade and Tony Khan started talking back in March. So, this is right when he got released. Right. And they couldn't come to a deal then because Andrade reportedly wanted creative control and veto power over all his matches in his contract. At the time, AEW said no. There were similar reports coming out of his negotiations with Impact. He wanted creative control. He also wanted a lot more money than Impact could afford, and they were not able to come to a deal about that. So, that was kind of a big thing for him. He wanted that creative control over his career. He wanted that over his character and his in-ring stuff, which I think all wrestlers kind of to an extent want. But they were able to come to a deal where Andrade has a lot of creative input. But at the end of the day, Tony Khan has, he's just like Vince McMahon. He has all the control over everything that happens. So what do we think about this? What do we think about Andrade or just wrestlers in general having creative control clauses in their contract?
No, I mean, I can kind of understand it, especially where he's coming from WWE, when you have really no creative control, not even a little bit, for the most part. And that didn't really help his career there. So you can understand where he's coming from. I want some creative control going on, but I can also see where the owners and also the creative team for the particular federations or want more control than the actual performers, because what if their ideas or what their visions don't match what the wrestler visions? You know what I mean? You want to be able to talk about that. You want to be able to try to put it together, and you don't want the talent to have a bigger head than what they deserve. So you kind of want to have more control over it and run it by them and see how it goes and go that way. But I can't understand why some of the superstars want creative control, especially going to places where it's all done by the higher ups and not by them. So I get both sides.
Yeah, and you made a really interesting point there that I want to talk about, and this idea coming from the WWE culture. A lot of these people who are released, I understand completely why they would want some creative control, because they had no input whatsoever in WWE and they had all their ideas shot down. So them not being trusting of higher ups or not being trusting of another company, being able to portray them in the light that they want, it makes total sense to me. And I think that's a very good point, and I think even a point in favor of that. That being said, I think creative control clauses, it depends on the wrestler. It works out great sometimes, and it works out terribly. WCW gave everybody creative control, and that turned out to be a mess. And I think that's why it's important that about what AEW is doing and has been doing. They are fostering more of a culture of trust, I think, with the wrestlers about creative input, which I think is important and hasn't happened in the wrestling industry for a long time. Tony Khan has, everyone knows Tony Khan is the end all be all in AEW, but he wants people's ideas to come forward. And I think a lot of times he even talked about it. He said, I want people who have ideas for themselves, because I can come up with all the ideas I want, right? But if the wrestler isn't invested in it and don't have input in it, then they're not going to go out there and perform it to the best of their ability, and it's not going to be them, and odds are it might not work. So Tony Khan is asking for that input. He thrives on it, right? So, and that's something that's been missing in the wrestling industry for a long time. So, because usually it's these bookers like to do things the way they want to do it. And, we've seen, WCW, go back to anything that happened in WCW, the booking committees were mad there. But I do think, though, creative control can lead to problems. And it's better to have that culture of trust and better to just play it like that, like the way AEW is playing it, rather than just go down the road of just giving everybody creative control. Because once you go down that route, man, it's just, okay, Andrade comes to the pay-per-view, doesn't want to lose. And I'm not saying Andrade would do this, right? Anyway, right. Wrestler X comes down to the pay-per-view, championship match. Brother, I don't feel like losing my title today, brother, which literally happened multiple times. Yeah, I was changing the finish in the middle of the ring in the biggest match in the company's history. You want to avoid stuff like that.
I already knew who you were talking about, and I was definitely about to mention that but but that's why you don't want them to have complete creative control. But again, to piggyback off what you were saying, coming from that WWE culture, WWF culture, like that's some of the biggest. That's one of the biggest things that a lot of the wrestlers had a problem with. If you look back on Cody Rhodes' statement when he left, that's one of the things he said. Like he pitched them ideas. He talked to this person, that person. I'm not mentioning names, but this person, that person, multiple times, and like and almost pleaded with them, like, this is what I want to do. This is what will make this character do this and that. And they was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. So put on this faceplate and do this. Okay, good. Break. Like that's pretty much what it was. Like one of the bigger statements that the Rhodes family's ever said, like my father came from here, is a superstar, known worldwide. That he comes to WWE, they put a unitard on him and make him dance. And that's, and I mean, and you interpret that any way you want, but that's pretty much why I understand, and why you said the same thing, why you understand why these wrestlers want the control when they go to other promotions, because they've been jaded so much,
Yeah. Hold up. I think we blacked out.
Did we lose?
We lost something
There's
for a little bit.
There's stuff going over here, so.
Yeah, there's lightning going on over here. Yeah, I think we're back. Let's see.
Are we back?
We might be. Hold up. Let's see. It's a
Ooh,
live. Just like what was that? In your house, beware of dog. We just
oh man. You went back.
Oh, we're back. We're back. All right. Yeah. So sorry about that interruption. In your house, beware of dog. This is not We Are Real Take Sports Talk back. Sorry about that. There's some storms going on. But Trevor, back to the point you were making about Andrade. I think you're right, though. I think you're right. Coming from that mentality of WWE, where everything you did was just shot down, it's understandable that wrestlers would want that that creative input, and I understand it, and they should. There should be some sort of balance. There should be some sort of like understanding of that. So, I hope we see that. I hope we see that moving forward.
I do too. I definitely do.
Yeah, and you know what else I hope, guys? I hope that those technical difficulties didn't bother you, and you guys make sure you subscribe to this channel for daily videos every single day, not just wrestling, football, baseball, basketball, anything I can think of, and want to put all this shit, I talk about it. Real Take Sports Talk on Thursdays, live here on the YouTube channel. Graphics are going to be updated on all of our accounts, so be sure to stick around for that. Also follow us on Twitter. Trevor, let's move on. We'll sticking with AEW. Let's move on and talk about AEW Double or Nothing and their pay-per-view numbers. So as far as pay-per-views go, AEW Double or Nothing so far has accounted for 115,000 confirmed pay-per-view buys. TNA 2007, this is not. 115, could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Terrible.
Tony Khan would shut down the company, man. Like,
wait, what? Oh, we're done. We're done here.
All right. Let's try that again, because that was the great outtake, though. Let's do that one more time. So, as far as pay-per-view numbers go, Double or Nothing, AEW Double or Nothing accounted for 115,000 pay-per-view buys across all their platforms. Those are the numbers so far. And if this remains true, this would make it the second most bought pay-per-view in the short history of AEW. And, it's second only to March's.
Fuck.
I think we went out again.
Yeah, because mine. Damn. You good?
Yeah, we're good. All right. We're just sorry about all these difficulties. We're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna get through this. Trevor, we're gonna get.
Oh,
we
back.
This.
We're back on. Okay.
Yeah, we're back on. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, pal. I think we're. Man, this is not. It's not good. It's not good when we got this weather. It's not good. All right, we're going to try this one more time. I'm so sorry about all these difficulties. We're going to do this one more time. As far as pay-per-view numbers go, AEW Double or Nothing accounted for 115,000 100,000 pay-per-view buys across all their global platforms. If true, this makes it the second highest buy rate for the company in paper as far as pay-per-views go in its brief history. This also makes it one of the more profitable pay-per-views they've ever had, second only to AEW's Revolution back in March. And we've seen over the pandemic, Trevor, AEW has consistently been either right around or above the 100,000 pay-per-view buy numbers, which is way more than TNA ever had. Largest numbers we've seen since WCW back in 2000, they're like catching up to some WWE pay-per-views when they used to do pay-per-views back in the day. So we are seeing AEW, even though there's a pandemic, they don't have fans. We're seeing like their pay-per-view numbers like consistently get better. And a lot of the problems, like people thought a problem that AEW could have was people might go away or they might turn away from the product. But instead, we've seen them come back to the product consistently, and it's just getting better. So what do we make of the sustained success of AEW? And do you think the return of fans is going to help them maybe improve these numbers?
I think the return of fans couldn't help. I mean, couldn't help. Lord, could help tremendously. But no, like I honestly think they're just gonna keep going up. Honestly, the product's good. They pander to the fans. Even during the pandemic, when there were no fans there, they still pander to the fans. I think they have the right formula for what they're doing right now, and as long as they expand on it in a positive way, I don't see their numbers falling too many at all. I've seen the numbers actually just expanding.
Yeah. I mean, they're just, it's crazy. It's just crazy what they've been able to do in such a short amount of time. And it's a real testament to like, not just the leadership, but the wrestlers on the roster. Like they have done an amazing job at entertaining people through this pandemic. And I think it's going to continue to be that way. And it's going to get better because once we see, like one thing wrestling has really missed has been the crowds. Wrestling has really missed the crowds. And once we get the crowds back, and once you see that there's absolutely nothing in wrestling like an AEW crowd on a Wednesday night. Every single one of those crowds were amazing, and we really took them for granted, I think, before the pandemic. So I think having them back is going to be great. I think that it's also going to help them with pay-per-view buys, hopefully. So we'll see where that goes. And then the other question a lot of people have is like, what's the ceiling, do you think, for AEW? Like, what is their actual ceiling? That's a good question because we haven't seen, like we know they're never going to be, or they're like anytime soon at least, they're not going to be WWE. Right. And that's not even what they're going for. They want to be a wrestling company. So it's a little more niche than just entertainment. So, but what is their ceiling, do you think?
You know what, though? Like, that's a very interesting question, but I don't think either one of us really know the answer. Like, I don't think we know right now. Like, I mean, it could be coming up. Their ceiling could be right around the corner. But you know what? I don't think so, and I just don't know when it is. Like, I honestly believe it, as much as they have improved their product from their very first Dynamite show, even before that, their very first pay-per-view, it's leaps and bounds. It gets better and better each time you see it, and their clientele, their performance gets better and better each time you see them. Like, and it's different superstars. It's not always the same, and even the same superstars don't look like the same because they perform better. So it's one of those things where, like, I honestly don't think there is an answer for this question, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. See, for me, when AEW was first conceived, I always thought, like, when I thought of it, what it was going to be, it was like thinking it's going to be like a very much all-in type of vibe. Like, remember that pay-per-view they did, All In? I thought it was going to be like the King of the Indies. Like, this is going to be like where all these wrestling companies meet and merge and just create. And I think AEW has been able to do that. We've seen that with the Forbidden Door opening up. Thank you, Tony Khan. We've seen that with all these companies, like all these talents mixing in. But they've been able to create an identity of their own in AEW and their own superstars, which I think sets him apart from even the expectations of some fans like myself. And I think this company, they are going to be, they have the potential to be the best wrestling company in the world. And first of all, like if you're talking about best in-ring product, they are the best in-ring product in the world. But at least in the United States. Dave Meltzer, at me, bro. But didn't happen in Tokyo Dome. Wait, but the Young Bucks are in there. 8 stars. But in all seriousness, I think that they can be the best wrestling company in the world. And we talked about this. It doesn't mean that they're gonna overtake WWE. That's never going to happen in our lifetimes. But you know what that does mean? It does mean that WWE, who we've talked about, is shifting away from being a wrestling company. Like, they have the potential to overtake them as far as the wrestling aspect of their business. Because WWE is doing movies. They want to do shows and documentaries and all that kind of stuff. And they can consolidate that market. But AEW, I think, is going to be able to one day consolidate, the hardcore wrestling fans. If those NXT marks will ever stop posting memes about AEW getting buried for having like the highest viewership in the only demo that people care about, the only demo that the people in charge who make money care about. But
sure,
we'll see. I look, I love wrestling. SmackDown is a great show, as is Dynamite. Raw, trash, utter garbage, as they say.
NXT is good too, though. NXT is a good product.
I don't have time for. I don't have time.
I don't know you're gonna watch it, yeah, but yeah.
I mean, no, I want to watch it. Like, I keep up with it when interesting things happen. Like I'll keep up with it, but it's just it's a lot. There's a lot of wrestling out there, man. I feel like I want you to be the NXT guru, and then let me handle a NWA and Raw. Yeah, dude, this is why I'm the managing director of Real Take Sports. I have to watch Raw. I can't swindle anyone else into watching Raw.
And that's why you get the big bucks.
Oh, yeah, the big bucks, yes. By the way, patreon.com/Real Take Sports. If you really want to give us the big bucks, give me some money. I've put a lot of money into this. So, no, it's fine. All right, let's keep the AEW train going and talk about something interesting that happened. So, Billy Corrigan. Yes, that Billy Corrigan. Billy Corrigan of the Smashing Pumpkins, also the owner of the National Wrestling Alliance. Billy Corrigan was talking about Tony Khan this week, and he had some very interesting things to say. Let's take a look at what he had to say. So he was speaking with the two-man power trip. He professed that Tony Khan has been highly beneficial to the NWA and the wrestling industry as a whole. He says, quote, we work everything out. Tony has been an incredible partner, and I've never felt like the NWA or myself wasn't totally respected. The communication is great, and we talk fairly often. He's obviously a very busy guy. When we do talk, we keep it to what is most valuable, and we'll read out the rest of the quote. So there you see something very he's talking about Tony Khan in a very good light. He's like, we have this partnership with the NWA and AEW, and Tony Khan is very open to hearing ideas and very open to him. So I think it's a good thing. I think there's a good working relationship. That's the first big takeaway from this between the NWA and AEW.
Absolutely.
He goes on to say that 5 years ago, when I was with TNA, I'd go into these meetings, sit in these meetings, and they'd say, it's WWE and no one else. TNA's biggest year, they generated like $30 million in gross revenue, which is a big number. In those meetings, they didn't care about what I was selling. If they couldn't make it happen, you could say if you were at a low revenue, no matter how good your ideas were. Tony is proving that there is more, and you see that with the expanding of their programming. They wouldn't be expanding their programming if there wasn't a desire for more. So there he says, I think, what everyone is thinking, that, before it was like there was WWE and no one else, but now Tony Khan has made it so that there is this other big entity, and this other big entity in AEW isn't doing what WWE did, which is like, try to, buy all these companies out and, take all their talent. Tony Khan is making it work and working and having partnerships with all these other entities, all these other businesses, and it's better for professional wrestling. And when you have someone who's from a not even a rival, but another wrestling program, another wrestling company who's in charge of another wrestling company saying this about another owner, I think it's good because it means that we're past this bullshit in wrestling where everyone needs to compete against everyone else. Like it doesn't have to be a competition. There can be like NWA is allowed to be good and AEW is allowed to be good. WWE is allowed to be good in parts. And AEW and NWA and MLW, they can all thrive. Like that's one thing that the old mentality I think doesn't fit anymore. But what are your thoughts on these comments that Corrigan had and just what the partnerships that have developed between these different wrestling companies?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Billy Corrigan has expressed his love for wrestling for years now, right? And same thing with Tony Khan. And I honestly believe when you have that love of the product that you are selling, you get it's a different appreciation for it, and you see it within the work you put out. And I honestly believe that's the case. I love NWA. I do. I've always loved NWA. I like what Corrigan is doing over there, and I like what Khan is doing here. And I think honestly, it's a perfect partnership because they have the same mindset. You can't have a partnership like this work well when you have two people with two different mindsets. And I believe Corrigan are working on the same pace. And like he said, like taking a direct quote from him, it's a breath of fresh air because you don't have that often. It's with most people, it's about money, money, money. It's not about what product they put out. It's not about what it looks like or if the fans even give a fuck about it. It's like, oh, I think that's interesting. Put it out. But what if they don't care? Fuck it. I'm a billionaire. Who cares? Like that's pretty much how it is sometimes. And it honestly, it's refreshing to read that, to know that information.
Yeah, I agree. It's refreshing. It's great. TK, keep it up. Billy Corrigan, stop making albums. Love the Smashing Pumpkins, but goddamn, man, you need to just quit while we're ahead. Quit while we're ahead here. Yeah, it's great. We don't need to. I'm not gonna gush over Tony Khan for another 20 minutes, even though I could. Pay me, Tony, and I will. I'm sorry. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the positivity. The NWA train. We've not talked about NWA a lot on this show. Let's talk about NWA and their latest big signing. So NWA has signed Kylie Ray. Kylie Ray is returning from retirement. She's signing with the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. And it was a surprise to a lot of people in the industry, especially to those in Impact. And who was a member of the Impact roster when she announced her retirement in October.
Stupid. Are we still on?
Man, hold up. We'll be right back. We will be right back. Yeah, all right. I think we're back. I think we're good. Let's hope that worked. Whatever I just did right there. Oh, it didn't work. Oh well. We're just gonna power through this. Don't worry. We're here to talk about wrestling. We're going to talk about wrestling. Let's talk about Kylie.
Still on?
We're still on. We're live. Cool. We're live, pal. Trevor, let's get into it. What do you think about this? Kylie Ray signing with the NWA to bolster up that women's division. What do you think about this signing?
Again, we love women's wrestling here. We talk about it quite often. Kylie Ray, great talent. I'm glad to see her back. I honestly didn't think her retirement was going to last that long anyway, especially someone who loves the business as much as she does. It is a bit surprising to see her go to NWA, but it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, at this point, if you're a female talent, you either go, I believe you either go to AEW or actually TNA at some point, because they actually did have an amazing female roster at one point. I mean, they still do. They have great talent on there. I think Jordan Grace is the champion now, or who's champion now?
I think it's Jordan Grace, right?
Yeah, yeah. But going to TNA, I mean NWA, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And I wish her the best, and I can't wait to see her perform.
Yeah, I think it's great. You know, this is coming off the heels of NWA announcing their first ever all-female pay-per-view. So I think this is a good way to bolster up that roster, get some fresh matchups. And then, look, Kylie Ray could end up being the women's champion one day. And that's a good thing, because NWA, in my opinion, has the best women's belt in wrestling. Like, the best women's world champion. It's leagues above the men's world title in that company. Like, you know how I feel about the ball belt. Just the big metal ball in the middle of the... It's stupid. But they have the best... Like, it's a great belt. Go... I wish I had a picture of it I could show you guys right now, but go look at that belt. It's amazing. It's a great belt, and I don't blame anyone who wants to fight for that belt. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great belt, and you know what? It's the women's heavyweight belt. It's not a women's championship. It's the heavyweight belt, and that's what makes it better than most belts. I love that.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's like, one thing I liked about AEW is they called it, like, they call it a world championship.
Yeah.
WWE's still stuck on, like, oh, well, she's a 16-time. Charlotte Flair is going to be a 16-time women's champion. No, but she's also going to be 16-time world champion. I think that's fine.
No, she's a woman. Like,
she's so yeah. Like it's like the same thing they do with the Royal Rumble. It's like, Charlotte Flair has won the women's Royal Rumble. Like, oh, no shit.
No, you don't say.
You don't say. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out, pal. Like, come on. Like, it's just something like, oh my God, Shinsuke Nakamura has won the men's Money in the Bank. Like,
they don't say that.
Look, okay, I understand it. Like, up next we have the men's Money in the Bank. That's fine.
That's fine.
Be clear about what's next on the program, but, like, don't tell me, she's only the fourth woman to ever win a Money in the Bank ladder match and the women's Money in the Bank ladder match and blah blah blah. Like, it's just like, I can just say they won the Money in the Bank. Well, yeah. No need for the pronouns. It's fine.
We already know. Like,
we already know. We're hip. We're cool. Get jiggy with it.
No.
Nah. Let's keep it going. Keep the love train going for NWA. So much NWA content on this show, Trevor.
I don't know what to do with myself.
Nonny. So let's talk about this. This is an interesting thing. Could we potentially see Cody versus Nick Aldis Part 3 for the NWA? Oops. I messed that up. Keep it going. I'm sorry. It's been a weird show with technical difficulties and everything. I'm just trying to keep it going, and we will. All right. So, Trevor, could we see Part 3 of Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship? Owner Billy Corrigan thinks so. So we've seen these two battle twice. One at All In, where Cody Rhodes won the NWA World Championship from Nick Aldis, and the second time at the NWA 70th anniversary special, where Nick Aldis won the belt back. And Billy Corrigan this week said that if Tony Khan is down for it, if Tony Khan wants to partner up on this match, he is more than happy to make it happen. And this has opened the door for a Part 3, a rubber match. Each wrestler has one win for Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis. And you can say, arguably, this is the match that laid the groundwork for AEW, because it was one of the premier matches, the premier match, if you ask me, at All In. This was like the entire show was basically built around this match in a way. And I think it would be fitting to see these two go in and have a world championship match. And potentially, this is a way for Cody Rhodes to be a world champion without winning the AEW world title, because he can't wrestle for that title anymore. But what do you think about these comments from Corrigan and the potential for this match to happen?
I think now, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen now. You know what I mean? Like Corrigan has opened the doors. Khan is completely open to it. Like I think if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen now. And dude, I couldn't be more happier. Like that's one of the best title matches I've seen in a long time, and two great performers too. Like it would be great to see a number 3. And honestly, both matches 1 and 2 were great. Like they both stole the show, I thought, and it would be great to see if they can do it one more time.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I think this is going to be good because one thing it'll do is it'll actually showcase not only NWA, and NWA when they're getting fans back hopefully soon and they're starting to do Power again. It'll help them get some traction post-pandemic, and it will also, I think, showcase Nick Aldis as a superstar. Because if they do this match, Nick Aldis is going to be showcased very well. He's one of the best, most underrated wrestlers in the entire world.
Definitely is.
And I think it'll also make the NWA World Championship relevant again. Because think about what that did when Cody won it. People were thinking about the NWA title as something, of a world championship again. Before, like Matt DiBiase was winning the title. Not Ted DiBiase. Matt DiBiase Jr. Yes. Like this was this was a belt that was dead in the eyes of the wrestling community, and that revived its reputation. And now, if you have someone like Cody Rhodes going after it, it's going to mean something afterwards. Exactly. So, I think it's the perfect time, like you said, to do this match. And it doesn't have to be at All Out, but I think over the next few months, it has to happen. I think within the next year. Because you want NWA to be a strong product moving forward, so AEW can benefit from their clout and vice versa. And I think NWA really needs it because they were doing a good thing with Power, but one thing that we talked about, was NWA needs to start going on the road, and if they start going on the road, it doesn't have to be every week. They're not going to do that, but have some shows in some different places, I think it would mean more. And this is the first step to doing that. So this is a match that I think needs to happen.
I mean, like you said, the thing is, and I think it's a shame, a lot of younger wrestlers, a lot of newer people into the wrestling community have no idea what NWA is or was, and have no idea who wrestled for NWA. You have names for NWA that just are etched in wrestling history. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Let's be Ric Flair. My man Dusty.
Harley Race.
Simon
not Simon Gotch. Frank
Simon Gotch. Oh God.
Nick Bockwinkel, man. You got man. Luthez. There are so many, man. The list goes on and on and on. It's just you're right. You're so right.
And that title meant a lot. At one point, that was one of the most prestigious titles in wrestling, honestly. I mean, let's just be real. When WCW first started, they wrestled for the NWA championship. And that was something that they carried on because NWA at the time was defunct. And they kept that going. And now that you have guys the caliber of Aldis, Cody, those guys again made that revigorated that title and made it something more. And Aldis has done an amazing job at that. You hit it on the head by saying he's one of the most underrated wrestlers I've seen in a very long time. Nick, and it's because unfortunately, not saying that Power is a bad show because I actually enjoy Power, but it's a lot of people aren't watching Power. They don't know it exists. They don't know about NWA. You need to get it more mainstream so people can watch it. Because honestly, all the talent you have over there, and you made another good point. The women's division over there, absolutely stacked, absolutely talented, and no one knows about it because no one watches it. You need to get that up front and center so people can understand how good Aldis is and to understand how good that brand is and what it means to wrestling.
The NWA historically, go back and read the Wikipedia articles, kids. The NWA historically was the most important brand in pro wrestling for the longest time. Everything from WWF, WWF, WCW, WCCW, everything was the center point of wrestling for nearly 50 years. Yep. Was the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. That was the only belt that mattered. That was the only belt that people cared about. That was the only belt that people were invested in. And it's sad what happened to it, with the downfall of the NWA in the 90s and the 2000s. But there is a resurgence. And Nick Aldis is the guy that has, carried the company, that has carried the brand for a long time. And I think he will carry it for a long time to come. And it doesn't happen, though. Like, this resurgence of NWA doesn't happen without that match at All In.
No.
The resurgence doesn't happen without Cody Rhodes. And I think to cap this resurgence, Cody versus Nick Aldis Part 3 must happen. It must happen because it's going to be great for the NWA, great for AEW, great for wrestling fans, great for wrestling history, because people are going to care. And that's what it's about. Like, I emphasize this, I feel like, every week, as far as what AEW is doing good and what WWE is doing bad. There's a lot of shit in WWE that people don't care about. Yeah. And that's why you see people tuning out in record numbers. That's why you see Raw getting historically low ratings. They fell to 1.2 million. 1.2 million. Monday Night Raw. Unthinkable. And that happens because no one cares about Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo doing like weird stuff with Sheamus. No one cares. And it's terrible because they're talented people.
Exactly.
But AEW, look what they're doing. Everyone, they're making everything important. Stakes matter. And when stakes matter, wrestling matters. Take that, Impact Wrestling 2012, where wrestling matters. Remember that? Oh my God! It was like when
wrestling fathers and wrestling mothers. Like, if you guys have children that you want to introduce wrestling to, show them some old tapes of NWA. Actually, teach them some history, and go back and watch some of those matches. Like, I remember one of the biggest wrestling things my brother shared with me was when he was a kid, and they used to do NWA matches at in DC. I forget the Stadium Armory. It was Ric Flair and actually Dusty Rhodes in a cage match, and it was crazy. Like, out of everything my brother talks to me about when involved in wrestling, this is his pride and joy. This is his most favorite memory. And honestly, guys, just go back and watch it. It was great to watch.
Hackenschmidt, Bockwinkel, Gotch, and Kenny, by God, oh my God. That's literally what I just thought about right now.
Actually, the Freebirds were part of NWA, and that's actually how I got into the Freebirds, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's better than my introduction to the NWA. The first NWA match I ever saw was Mike DiBiase versus some jabroni in LA. That's when NWA used to do they used to be on, dude. NWA when granted I'm young, so the first NWA match I ever watched live was on Colors TV. NWA wrestling from LA. It was back in 2007 or something. It was so bad. It was there were 12 people there. I was like, this is the NWA? This is what everyone's talking about. This is what Ric Flair won 16 titles for? This is it. It was so sad, bro. When it was bad, depressing. I couldn't. I was too young to figure it out. Then you go back and you watch the history. You read about it and you're just okay. And you go back and watch those matches. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
the NWA used to be lit, and it's good. I think it can be lit again. We just need to erase the past 25 years. Shane Douglas, fuck Shane Douglas. He's the reason for this, man. Everything bad about pro wrestling can be pointed back to Shane Douglas. I swear to God, this man, bro, him and X-Pac destroyed the business.
So what's funny is I don't hate Shane as much as you. I don't like him, but I don't hate him as much as you.
His entire career, all he did was cut promos about Ric Flair and being better than Ric Flair. And it's just like, how am I supposed to take this guy seriously? Like, no, you jabroni, you're not even in the same league as Ric Flair, wrestling in your t-shirt and slacks, looking like a mark. He's a mark for himself.
He upset me greatly.
Don't kill me, Shane Douglas. I love Dean Douglas, by the way. It was the best teacher gimmick in pro wrestling.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, I'm just saying, man. Like, come on, Shane Douglas. He can all kiss my ass, and it's like, bro, like, I can't believe Shane Douglas was the one to destroy the NWA. Like, that was the nail in the coffin of the NWA. Fuck Shane Douglas.
There you go.
I was watching. Before we move on to this, because I know you want to talk about this. Before we move on to this, I was watching like an old OSW. Like, we talk about it, right? This show, and they had Matthew from Botchamania on, and they were reviewing back. This was a few years ago. They were reviewing the NXT Takeover match between Bayley and what's her name, Sasha Banks.
Mm-hmm.
And like Matthew, like, you know Matthew from Botchamania, like, I'm sure, so he's like, yeah. So then Bayley hits the Bayley to belly, and somewhere Shane Douglas is watching this match, going, yes, fuck Ric Flair. because his finishing move was a belly to belly.
Yeah, it was.
I was just like, every time I think about Shane Douglas now, I'm just thinking about that, like, him sitting in his couch watching wrestling, like, yeah, fuck Ric Flair.
That's fucking hilarious.
Oh man. Oh God. All right. You know what else is fucking hilarious? This, Trevor. Can you handle it? No, you can. You got this, buddy. So, Trevor, why don't you tell us about this? Matt Cardona is getting extreme?
So, yeah. As everyone knows, I am into all types of wrestling, and I am a very huge fan of CZW and things like that. So, over the weekend, Matt Cardona, apparently, and if you don't know who Matt Cardona is, Zack Ryder. Matt Cardona was bored, apparently, and had said, you know what, I'm gonna do something different, something I've never done before. He shows up to GCW, and if you don't know Game Changer Wrestling, if you're not familiar with it, it is a promotion that was started primarily based around Nick Gage. Pretty much is the champion. Great promotion, by the way. They're doing good things over there. Big ups to Game Changer Wrestling. Big ups to Nick Gage and everything you've been through, bro. I'm one of your fans. So anyway, as we all know, if you haven't figured it out or haven't seen it, Jon Moxley has done a brief little appearance in GCW with Nick Gage. Gave him the Death Rider, and hopefully, all of his fans are hoping that it sets up a death match between two of the best to do death matches. So Nick Gage defends his belt, and you see this figure come up, and he's all black, and he kind of dances, kind of like, wildly like Jon Moxley does, and everyone in the crowd, even the announcers, like, wait a minute, that looks familiar. Is that who we think it is? And he delivers a Death Rider, and pops back up, and the announcer is going crazy. Oh, it's Jon Moxley! Everyone in the arena is loving it. Figure takes his hood off, and who do we see? None other than Zack Ryder himself, saying it pretty much like, yeah, and those cheers quickly turn to boos. Those boos quickly turn to fuck Zack Ryder. It's the funniest thing. Like start fuck Zack Ryder. Blah. Even the announcer's like, what? He's like, is that Zack Matt Cardona? Like, he didn't know what to even say. And honestly, I think it's brilliant. because who the hell thought Matt Cardona would show up in Game Changer Wrestling? Like, the most extreme thing that Matt Cardona's ever done is wrestle a good match. I mean, not saying he's bad, because I actually like Matt Cardona, I do. But like, when he's allowed to actually wrestle, that's like the most extreme thing that he's ever done. Like, he was another talent that WWE wasted. And he's been doing great things in Impact. I would love to see him stay in AEW, but I honestly believe this is one of the smartest moves he's done for his career. At the end, when he's walking out, he shoots a quick promo, pretty much saying, "This is Zack Ryder. Oh, fuck Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder's fucking dead. I'm now Matt Cardona." Like, which is great. I like it. But I'm hoping this sets up a match, a death match between him and Nick Gage. Now, I've never seen him do anything like this, so it'd be very interesting to see. What are your thoughts, Omar?
Big props to the guys at Dark Side of the Ring. Nick Gage is so over.
Dude,
it's insane. Dark Side of the Ring's biggest accomplishment is making me care about Nick Gage. That is,
you weren't familiar with Nick Gage.
No, I wasn't, and it wasn't my cup of tea. But you know, it's you know what? It's great for wrestling. Thank you, Dark Side of the Ring. Great for wrestling. I love this because we're getting to see another side of Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder. We're getting to see this dark side. Him as a heel. Him as someone who wants to be hated. Him as someone who's wrestling this death match potentially. Right. And with Nick Gage, who's using his own words, fucking crazy. Like that's something people want to see. I want to see it, and I'm going to start paying a little more attention to GCW in my wrestling regiment now, thanks to this. And that's good. That's great. Like, again, everyone's thriving. I love the fact that, you know, Nick Gage, his story got told, and now he's doing some of the best work of his career. And he's having, like, feuds that people are going to care about, and that, like, people outside of the circle of extreme wrestling are going to care about. That's what's dope about all of this, and I can't wait.
I mean, because the thing is, when it comes to
just wait, Nick Gage, just listen to what I'm saying though. I know you love extreme wrestling. We all do sometimes, right? But don't hurt the moneymaker, man. That is a $1 million face in Zack Ryder.
It is.
Don't fuck with a moneymaker.
And you know that's in the contract. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
We saw how well that went for David Arquette.
David Arquette. All respect to David Arquette for what he's done, but David Arquette is kind of a prima donna too. Like, you sign up for something you didn't even know. You're an idiot. You sign up for something that you didn't even know what it was. I'm just gonna go in there and take a few punches. No, dude, it's a death match. You signed up on it not knowing what the fuck it was, and I'm with Nick Gage 100%. This piece of shit comes in, I'm gonna hurt him. Like, I'm going to. Like,
what a mark you sound like right now.
I'm gonna hurt him.
I'm with Nick Gage. I like Nick Gage. I like Nick Gage.
Seriously, think about it though. You have, first off, you have a guy who's almost single-handedly.
The one thing he said. I'm an actor. The face. Don't.
Well, we know Nick is a dickhead too.
You're the one now out here talking about contracts, and Matt Cardona's got to sign a clause in the contract, and nothing in the face. You're agreeing with me on that, but you're saying the actual actor doesn't have a right to be like, hey,
no,
bro.
Honestly, all jokes aside, he should have honestly went by his, listen to him. But like, we don't even know what honestly was said, because even fucking David Arquette kind of like reneged half of what he said in the damn.
That's true, man. We will never know what happened in that over that steak dinner in Los Angeles on that night.
It's gonna be interesting, and like you said, Nick Gage really did benefit from Dark Side of the Ring. Just kind of, and it's good for him. Good for GCW. Good for them. Definitely.
bad for Matt Cardona, man. He's gonna be wrestling in a mask for the next 30 years after the game's done with him. Jesus, I'm worried.
I'm waiting to see what Cardona can do. Like, because I actually like Cardona. I think he has a lot of talent that potentially never been shown, and I think it's a crime Zack Ryder was never a champion. Well, he was Intercontinental champ for like 2 hours.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Trevor, speaking of crimes, let's get to our next topic, where we witnessed the biggest robbery in the history of the United States, where Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. I forgot.
You keep confusing. Even though I thought it was Jake too, honestly.
They look smack alike, man. One's just somewhat talented as a fighter, and the other one isn't. And the other one is the one who fought. Well, the bottom of that graphic is wrong, but who cares? It doesn't matter. I'll change it in post. I'll change it in post. Logan Paul and Floyd money. Sorry, let's do that again, because man, I am just this really got me heated. So Logan Paul and Floyd Steal Your Money Mayweather, they had a fight this weekend that saw no winner. Both men going eight rounds, 3 minutes each round. Floyd was playing around. We saw that one knockout shot that where we thought Logan Paul was knocked out, and then Mayweather kind of hugged him and kind of helped him back up, and it went around, and people were like, "Oh man, it's a fixed fight or whatever," and it's like, was it fixed? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Like, so, but it's an exhibition fight. Here's the thing. What I will say, and I'll let you take it from here.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyone who paid for this fight and expected a real boxing contest that both fighters were eager to win and care about, you from the beginning, that should not have been your intention going into this, because this was never promoted like that. Everyone knew going into this that this was just going to be a cash grab for Mayweather, a cash grab for Logan Paul, and a clout grab for both. That's what it was, and that's what this fight was. So, Trevor, just what are your thoughts about this fight and just exhibition fights like this in general? And is it good for the sport of boxing?
Honestly, no, it's not good for the sport of boxing. Not this. Like, if it was actually an exhibition between two boxers, well-trained boxers, not saying that Mayweather isn't, but that other guy, yeah, we already know. But if it was something like that, that'd be interesting, right? That'd be worth paying money to see, right? Because I mean, Mayweather, one of the greatest boxers of all times, right? One of the has studied the art of robbing you for your money, and he's good at what he does. But really, Logan Paul, I get you want to etch your name, you want to make yourself relevant again. I mean, Mayweather will always be relevant. He doesn't have to have an exhibition fight against a hack that is not better than his brother, and that's the best thing I'll ever say about any of the Paul brothers. That's not better than his brother. To make money. Of course it was a cash grab. Of course it was. You honestly, anyone that ordered this fight honestly expected, oh man, Logan's gonna give it to him. Who? When? Where? How? Exactly. Logan Paul can't box his way out of what paper bag with a hole in it. And a knife.
He's not even the best boxer in his family.
No.
No. I think Jake Paul has genuine boxing talent.
He does. He really does.
And I'm not saying he's going to be the best in the world, but he has top notch. I'm saying he's got the potential to be a great boxer. I genuinely think that.
But I've said on the show before, and I said to you before, I honestly think he has great talent. I just want to see him box somebody, an actual fighter.
And here's the thing, and it comes down to this: these exhibition fights. This is what the Paul brothers do. These big exhibition fights against, it's the first one we've seen against a real boxer in Floyd Mayweather, but this is a cash grab. It's basically the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight. That's all this was. And even that fight was better than this because the buildup was much better. But the thing is, people talk about the exhibition fights. Is this good for the sport of boxing? No. The clear answer is no. It's not good for the sport of boxing. It's good for the spectacle of boxing. It creates spectacle. It creates like people talking about boxing, which they didn't do for a very long time before Mayweather, before Paul, before McGregor. Like all these people got into it. So it's like a kind of like a double-edged sword. What I will say is there's a reason we're seeing, all the best boxers and strikers in the world choosing to go do MMA instead of boxing. It's because that's where they're allowed to go do their craft and actually compete in a sport, whereas boxing nowadays it's just determined by the clout you have. Like Logan Paul and Jake Paul are two of the biggest draws in the world in boxing.
It's sad,
the
but it's true.
biggest draws in the world in boxing, and they're getting paid tens of millions of dollars per fight, and they've never wrestled real boxers or never fought real boxers in these primetime fights. So that just tells you the state of boxing. It's spectacle. It's like pro wrestling. It's very much like pro wrestling. And look, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like but the thing is, if you're boxing, are you fine with the sport becoming a sideshow? And that's what a lot of boxers have to ask themselves. That's what a lot of these commissions have to ask themselves. Floyd Mayweather is arguably the best boxer in the world, and he's fine with it. It makes some money.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is now. Like, once you have boxed as long as Mayweather is you're no longer hungry. Like, what do you have to prove? You're the best boxer in the world now. Now it's just, let me get some money. You know what I mean? Like, you have nothing else to prove at this point. He's beaten everyone that has to beat. Like, there's nothing else for him to prove. So, of course, this makes sense for Mayweather. Yeah. Like, someone like Paul that claims to be, I train all the time. You train running your fucking mouth. You do not train all the time. Like, you're not a great boxer. Your brother is way better. And also you're terrible at lying. He hit you with a glancing knockout. That was a glancing knockout below. I don't care what you say.
The numbers, like people are like there were no judges for this fight, so there wasn't like a real winner because it went all 8 rounds. But it was like very easy to tell who won that fight. Like Logan Paul striked on what is it, between 10 to 15% of his strikes, and and Mayweather was 30 to 40% of his strikes.
Have you seen that video going around where Paul is unloading and he hits him no times because Mayweather's blocking the entire time, and
he's actually defending himself. Yes, it's crazy, man. and look, for anyone who's oh man, but these two went out there and put a show on and it was great. For anyone who's like that, man,
I was
Floyd Mayweather. You know what Floyd Mayweather said after this fight? Quote: "When it comes to legalized bank robbing, I'm the best." That is the truest thing he has ever said. That is the realest. That's the realest thing about this whole fight in general. Again, it's not something I'm gonna pay for. Just watch the clips on Twitter afterwards.
I didn't pay for it at all, and I would never pay for anything Paul related boxing or anything Paul related at all. But yeah, I watched it. Most people pay for it to watch Logan Paul get knocked out. Let's just be real. That's why most people bought it. I mean, then you had the delusional people. Oh, he's bigger than Floyd. He has skills.
Well, and then you have the millions of Paul stands who are just like, well, Logan Paul is the next big thing. No,
he's the next big joke.
the next big joke. Yes. Oh my God. All right.
I'm sorry. I'll say it.
I mean, we've already said it 6 times in this show in the past 5 minutes. All right, let's wrap it up. At least the last official segment of the day. Fan questions, Trevor. This is our favorite segment every week.
It is.
Today's fan question comes from, once again, Jamie. Coming in strong. So today's fan question comes from Jamie. He asks, if you could make anyone in WWE world champion today, right now, who would it be? That's a good question, Trevor. Who would you make champion right now?
Right now? We're using current stars, right?
Yeah. Anyone who's signed to the WWE roster right now. Who would you make a world champion today?
Today. I have to think of the roster real quick. You know what? And it probably will be met with a lot of criticism, but I think Big E.
Oh, nice. I like that one.
Yeah, I think Big E. I think Big E has paid his dues. I think Big E's over with the fans. I mean, of course he's over with the fans. We loved him as the Intercontinental Champion. I mean, I think it will work. Like with the right program, with the right promotion, the right storyline. I think it will work. I think Big E is champion right now would work a lot.
I like that too. I like that. I think Big E's like he's again another one of those guys who's like, why hasn't he won the belt by now? But I think it's a matter of time. Like if he doesn't win it in like the next like 3 years, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, there's already a problem. There's already a problem, you know, with that. But
there's a bunch of problems.
There's a bunch of problems, but that would be another one. I like that one. I'm gonna go a different route here.
Okay.
And if I had to pick someone to be a world champion today, I would pick Walter. I would take him off of NXT UK. I would have Walter go win the title from Lashley, dominate, just be the big dominant heel of Raw, just dominate everything. Like, and I love Lashley, right?
I do.
I love Lashley in this role. I think MVP is great, but Walter to me is like money, just money. WWE, you love money. Money. That's Walter. Like he's just this big brooding, like bruiser brawler. He's gonna he looks like he could fight you. He's got a unique like body style and build to him. He's got a unique like look to him. You know, he's got a very very German looking fella. And like he's got this different aura about him when he wrestles. It's just, you're about to see something special and different. And all respect to Bobby Lashley, he's gotten so much better over the past 10 years, right? But it's like in the ring, it's like, it's a very like basic style. Walter, on the other hand, does a lot of different things that I think, get him over with the audience and also help make him more menacing and more of a threat. Because Bobby Lashley, it's very simple. It's a lot of the Brock Lesnar stuff, right? Spear, like, I'm not saying 5 moves to doom. Bobby Lashley is a better wrestler than that. But it is. But you know what I'm saying? It gets a little mundane very easily. With Walter, there's so much you can do, and his stable is great. Like money, just money.
I think Walter as champion would work well, very well actually.
Also, he's a lot younger. I know, like, Tony Khan has proven that in wrestling, age is but a number.
Yeah, true.
I understand that. Yeah, but with Walter, man, it's just I think you pulled the trigger on him now, and you just watch the money being poured. He's only 33 years old. He's young, and man, I think he was one of those people. He will. Like, he's kind of like Roman Reigns in this thing. I think he will be able to withstand whatever bullshit WWE throw on the main roster throw his way. And I think eventually they'll get it right with him.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a good pick. I agree with that. Totally.
Another one, man. There's a lot of people I would have had been world champion now, but another one that I just want to say, just so I can say I've said it and given him his due. What the fuck, man? What are they doing with Shorty G, Chad Gable? What are they doing with my man? Like,
see, that's the one I thought you were gonna pick. Honestly,
that was gonna be my pick. That was going to be my pick. It was gonna be Shorty but then G. I was like, man, Shorty G's dead. Like just if there's any, and look, I don't like to talk about people losing their jobs, and I hope whatever happens to Shorty G, I'm not calling him Shorty G, Chad Gable. I hope he's able to, as a fan of Chad Gable, I hope he's able to go somewhere else and do his craft. That Kurt Angle's son storyline was built, ready made for him.
I don't know why they didn't pick him. I don't know why they didn't pick him. I don't know why they didn't pick him.
I don't need to tell you why. Like, I love. Look, American Alpha was great. First of all, why'd you split them up and make them look like jobbers, right? I don't understand that, right? But you have Kurt Angle returning, right? You have Kurt Angle making his return, and then we find out that he has a son in WWE. Trevor, I don't need to tell you that Jason Jordan, God, I love Jason Jordan, by the way. I don't need to tell you that Jason Jordan doesn't look a lot like Kurt Angle, right?
I mean, no, I don't think anyone needs to tell me that.
What did he get from his dad? What did he get? He didn't get his height.
His bald head, apparently.
Didn't get the hair either. Kurt Angle, no, he didn't get the hair. Didn't get the not a lot. Not a lot of. But can you tell me, like Chad Gable, he works like Kurt Angle.
He does.
He's got that. He's got that geeky like jock like charisma.
I thought that
like
would have worked a lot.
It would have been
than Jason Jordan. Yeah.
And you could have led up to a match between those two. Have that be Kurt Angle's retirement match.
Right.
Like literally, Chad Gable should be a superstar right now, but instead he's Shorty G.
You know who else could have won the belt? I actually hate what they've done with him, but Baron Corbin could have won the belt at some point.
Dude, Baron Corbin, in my opinion, should have. Yeah, yes, I agree. Baron Corbin at his best was in NXT. He was in NXT, and you know what he was doing? He's cutting promos like, I was in the NFL. I don't care about wrestling. Wrestling sucks. I didn't call them. They called me. Like, he was looking like this was great. The Lone Wolf Baron Corbin was great. And then they had like Barman Baron with his little waistcoat. Constable Corbin. The King Corbin, what a jobber! And he's on every single week. Like, I love Baron. And you know what's funny? I still don't hate Baron Corbin.
No, I don't
want to watch him.
I hate what they've done with him, though.
Yeah, but I thought I always liked what he was doing. He won the Andrade the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Look at every winner of that Battle Royal. Not a single one of them got over because of it.
No.
Like, who we had? We had Cesaro. Took him 7 years to get a world championship match after he won. Big Show. Well, like who was after 2016 was Corbo, Baron the Corbin, Braun Strowman, he's out. Matt Hardy won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Did he?
Yeah, he did, and we saw how that turned. That turned out great for him. His WWE career was deleted. And then what was the next WrestleMania after that? It was WrestleMania 35, right? Yeah. That was who was that? Who was on that WrestleMania? Who was the one that honored? Because they haven't had it since, right? They haven't had it since. No. So the last one was at 35. Oh God, I can't believe I don't remember. Was that Braun Strowman? Maybe that might have been. I might be getting. So is he a 2-time winner? Is Braun Strowman? I'd be so mad. Now, wait. There's no way Braun Strowman has won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Who won at 33? Okay. I might be getting my manias mixed up here. I genuinely might be getting my mania. Who was it? Was it? It was Mojo.
It was Mojo Rawley. Yes, it was.
It was Mojo Rawley.
It was Mojo.
That's all you need to know about the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I wish it was Braun Strowman twice.
Or Mojo. You know, he's from Maryland too, right? Mojo.
Yeah, I'm aware. You know who he eliminated too, which is, I think, is funny as hell. He eliminated Jinder Mahal. The legacy of this prestigious Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Oh shit.
Also, we're not even going to get into the redacted women's battle royal. Name redacted. Could have called it the Sensational Invitational. That's a great name.
Oh, that's a great name, actually. And I like Sensational Cherry, so.
Yeah, you know, she wasn't a terrible human being. Allegedly.
No, she wasn't a horrible human being. That other woman. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that was not great. All right, Trevor. This is a good show. I think we did a good show. Got through some technical difficulties, but we fought through it. We made it to the end. Trevor, any final takes? Any final thoughts on the state of pro wrestling?
No. I think we covered a lot tonight. And I honestly, I think pro wrestling is heading upwards in some cases. In some cases, I think it's. But
pro wrestling is doing great. Sports entertainment tanking, baby.
Yeah, there you go. The sports entertainment.
We're gonna have a separate show for WWE. Call it Real Take Sports Entertainment Talk. Oh my god. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you for joining us, Trevor. As always, thank you guys also for watching along. Be sure to catch the replay of this whenever the fuck you want to. It's right here on the YouTube channel. Just be sure to subscribe. We got Real Take Sports Talk every single Tuesday night live here on the channel. Videos, clips, all throughout the week. We're also going to have Real Take Sports Talk talking about Aaron Rodgers leaving the Packers, Julio Jones being traded to the Titans, much more from the NBA playoffs, the Lakers getting eliminated, the Mavs and Luka Doncic, who is the entire Mavs team, being eliminated. We're also going to talk about a lot of other stuff in the world of sports, and be sure to check that out on Thursday. So subscribe for all of that. Follow us on Twitter at Real Take Sports. Follow us on our individual Twitters. You can follow Trevor right there. It's right there, so you can see it in the corner. Trevortainment, at Trevortainment, on Twitter. Follow me at OMERQ _ again, OMERQ _ at Real Take Sports. All the plugs. Patreon.com / Real Take Sports. Nunny. And yeah. All right. Cool. I think we're done. Yeah, Trevor, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Have a good week, and I'm never watching Raw again. This just never happened. Never.
It's not happening. No.
Never. Ever.
Ever again.
We'll see you next week.